Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the DJ the Money Coach Financial Expert Series, brought to you by the Seven Spheres of Money. Thank you again for joining us. And of course, we're joined by another powerful guest, not just a powerful guest and expert, but a young, powerful guest and expert whom DJ will introduce in just a moment. So let's jump right in, and I'll toss it over to DJ.
All right, Nick, like everything, baby, it's a beautiful day in America, and it ain't a better day in America to be black and successful in America, man. So, first and foremost, we have our first official sponsor of our program. It is the luxury organic Tolero tequila. And their slogan is real simple: great tequila shouldn't taste bad. And as you notice, the colors match DJ the Money Coach colors, and in Spanish it's azul. So this is a luxury tequila that's slight, crisp, and smooth. So get your Tolero tequila, and guess what? You get a discount for getting it through DJ the Money Coach system, because we like to bring the real stuff to you guys. So thank you to our new sponsor, Tolero Tequila. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Black owned, black distributed, black land owned out of Jalisco, Mexico. And it's one of the only organic tequilas on the planet. And what I learned, Nick, is that in order to be called tequila, it has to be created in Tequila, Mexico, in one of 3 states only, just like champagne in France. That's a lesson for all you people to learn, that all tequilas are not created equal. This is the best one. So with that said, let's dive in. And you know my story, real short. If you don't know me by now, I'm DJ the Money Coach. And just like you, ladies and gentlemen, once upon a time, I had a bunch of debt, $40,000 worth of credit card debt coming out of college. I had $20,000 worth of student loans. And unbeknownst to me, with a background in accounting, I had a 525 credit score. But you know what? I didn't let that slow us down. I got turned down by a mortgage company for my first mortgage, even though I had a professional income, meaning I made at least $60,000 a year. And then after that, about 24, maybe 36 months later, I got turned down for a small business loan by the same freaking bank, man. But you know what? At that point in time, I had 2 choices. And our guest epitomizes this. And I don't even know if that's a word. But anyway, I read this book. I read a book. It's called The Road to Wealth. And I only read 1 chapter in the book about credit. And I studied that. Within 12 months, my credit score went to 720. 24 months from that day, my credit score rose to 800. And my credit score has not been less than 800 for like 16, 17 years. Right now, today, my credit score is 827. And if you don't believe me, guess what? As you young cats like to say, I got the receipts, baby. I got the receipts. But I ain't excited about that. Within 6 years, I became consumer debt free, didn't file bankruptcy because it was my debt. I'd sign my name on the credit card to get the hat, the t-shirt, to pay for the ramen noodles, and to kick it. I had fun. So, you know, I enjoyed life a little too much at a young age. And at that age, when I got that weight off my shoulders, I started to see life in a different perspective. And I started pursuing entrepreneurship. And 6 years from that date, 2002, 2008, I became financially independent in America. I had a 6-figure income, $250,000 passively through business, real estate, dividend stocks, and I also eclipsed a 7-figure net worth. Put me in the top 1% of income earners in North America and Canada. And I ain't even excited about that, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm excited about? I took this information to the community. I started teaching financial education in my church. Then I started teaching at the YMCAs. Then I started teaching at the Federal Reserve Bank. Then I was asked to teach to the Young Attorney General's office in the state of Illinois. Then I taught at the state senator's office in Michigan. And then we went across the country. And 20 years later, we've helped over 20,000 people become consumer debt free, increase their credit scores, and over hundreds become financially independent in America, achieve what we like to say, the pom-pom lifestyle. That's plenty of money and peace of mind. And with that, I want to introduce this esteemed guest. And this guy is impacting my family personally, my sons. So this young guy is incredible. His name is Benjamin Phillips III. And he was raised the right way by a real man and a real woman. And he's a Renaissance guy. At a young age, this guy has gone out in America and across the world and conquered it. And I just had to sit back in awe when I met him, and he's so humble. He's got an undergraduate degree from University of Miami. He's working currently on a MBA PhD in Philippines, and he's also a basketball player. I think he's a volleyball player. I'm talking about he plays professionally. But check this out. This guy had the audacity at age 19 in college to go get a internship at a top 3 accounting firm in the world. So I was like, oh my goodness, this is my hero. So on top of that, I was intersected and introduced to Mr. Phillips by his mentor, Dr. J.C. Baker, who actually was introduced to me by my friend, Brandon Hutchison. And there's a tip. There's a book called, what is it called, Nick? Never Eat Alone, and the power of networking and creating great relationships. But Benjamin has written this amazing book called The Lone Wolf Mentality, a millennial mindset. And if I'm not mistaken, this young man is still under 25. I could be wrong. But without that said, I want to introduce you guys. And I forgot one thing. He also has mentored my sons. Hold up. He actually took out of his busy schedule as a certified international business owner that's doing business across the globe, doing multi-million-dollar deals under 25. And he was kind enough to mentor my sons, Christian at 13, and my oldest son, Rodney, who's 16, that followed his footsteps. And by reading his book and getting on a conference call with him every other Saturday, and my son has gotten an internship at the young age of 16 and one of the fastest growing startups in the world. So further ado, welcome to our show, Mr. Benjamin Phillips III. We're humbled and honored. Thank you for your presence.
Thank you so much to the both of you for having me. To everybody out there, I just want to say thank you for tuning in, for really listening to all the teachings and the lessons and the spirituals here. I think this is a fantastic program run by fantastic people. So I'm just really blessed and humbled to be here.
Oh man, absolutely. So hopefully I didn't put too much sugar on the top, but all this stuff is real, man. And Muhammad Ali said, if you done it, it ain't bragging.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, our show is laid back. We have a lot of fun, and it's called the Financial Expert Series. And even though you're super young, you're already an expert in your industry, and you accomplish more in business internationally than I have ever personally even thought about doing. So tell us your backstory and how you became the lone wolf.
Absolutely. So I grew up, in Fairfield, Ohio, Cincinnati. And so I went to high school here, grew up here. My parents are originally from Arkansas. That's where my dad's from a farm boy. He grew up on those farms, and he was a basketball player, international basketball player. So that's where our basketball path comes from. My mother, Dr. Sharon Phillips, she's half Filipino, so that's where my Filipino roots come from. And she instilled the value of education, the value of hard work and perseverance. And so the collective mindset and healing and love from a young age, I think, is the ultimate testament to what I've been able to accomplish, because I'm doing everything not just for them, but for the Lord as well. And so that's where everything kind of started. So after high school, I enrolled in Miami University here in Oxford, Ohio, and that's where the world started to open up to me. I learned a lot in my high school days. I would see a lot of my young friends, my young cats that were kind of doing a lot of different things. I was always someone on a different sheltered path. My parents knew that not only was it harder being a Black man in America, especially in the community that I grew up in, but I had to have a different path, not just for myself, because I had 2 younger brothers that were following in my footsteps. And so I've always had the pressure to be a role model, and always had to strive for greatness in those different ways. So the lone wolf mentality really comes from my father, Reverend Benjamin Phillips Jr. So I grew up in the church. My father was a pastor there. He mentored us every Sunday school. So all of my teachings come from him and my mother. And so the whole wolf came from being your own best friend, right? Not running with the pack, making your own path, right? Taking everything in stride and doing it in your own way independently, so you'll never have to rely on anybody, and you can always trailblaze your own path. And so for me, which is the whole wolf, I have wolves everywhere in my house. That's what the whole book is about. It's centered around Genesis 49:27. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning, he devours the prey, and in the evening, he divides the spoil. And so when I take that spiritual mantra and apply it to every facet of my life, I'm not just doing whatever I'm doing for myself, right? It's about generational wealth. It's about Black legacy. It's about what do I leave for my family and my family's family when I'm gone. That's what I mean by going out and getting that prey. Dividing the spoil means I have to share the wealth, because it wasn't just meant for just me, and it wasn't me solely that went out and sought that out, right? It's about different ultimatums that are coming into life, because it takes a village, which is one of the lone wolf tips in my book, is it really takes a village to raise a child. And I've just been extremely blessed to have not just my inner circle, which is the Phillips empire, my family, but external mentors like Dr. Baker, high school teachers, college teachers, basketball, volleyball coaches that have been helping me along the way. So that's where everything kind of begins, if you will.
Man, you know what? That's a mouthful of great information. And there's like three things that stood out from your introduction, Benjamin Phillips III. First is the fact that your parents raised the bar of average, which is excellence, in your household. And the thing that I like when I read your book is that you talked about the ability to not succumb to peer pressure, and really knowing who you are as a person. So the first time I heard about the lone wolf mentality before I met you, it was actually in a negative, because somebody told me, hey man, you're a lone wolf. But then you bring it to the scriptural basis and thought, hey, go out, get the food, and then come back and bring it to the tribe and actually take care of everybody. And that resonated to me, because I always looked at it as a negative versus a positive. But again, it goes to show you, it's like when people misquote, the love of money is the root of all evil. And most time they just say money is the root of all evil, but they miss that little first part, the love of money. And for you to share that in clarity with us, I grasp that it's really powerful to be a lone wolf, because you're actually doing what the man is supposed to do to build the tribe and provide generational wealth for 3, 4, 5, 6, and the foundation to be a real man. So another thing that stood out to me is that as a young guy, as a millennial, you're doing just the opposite of what most millennials are doing. And what I mean from that is you're not out here getting outrageous on TikTok, on Twitch, and just doing crazy things to get what is it, social cred, that the information, and they have this need to be desired, because inside they're empty. So talk to me a little bit about that, because you talk about in your book how you were different than most of the people in your school, and you were serious from the get-go. And I've been told that a lot, that hey man, you're serious all the time. But the reality is that if you take care of your business early, you can enjoy a better quality of life the older you get.
Absolutely. I think those are some good points. I want to focus the beginning of my discussion on my father for a second. I'll dive into the social media aspect. My father is one of the greatest men alive. I know everybody says that about their father, and they say these things, but I literally saw a man who was serious about his undergrad education, his high school education. He got out of Arkansas, which was a small trap in a small town. People were getting pregnant in high school. People were succumbing to drugs in high school. He was only one of the few people to get out of there, to then leave the state of Arkansas and travel up north to start his own, manhood, his own family, and all of that. So that's where that comes from internally. But one thing that happened to my father was when he was coming back, he played overseas in Luxembourg, was really, really successful overseas in a lot of European leagues. He came back and he was actually about to apply for the NBA draft and was doing a lot of workouts, but then he had a near fatal car accident that actually paralyzed him from his back. And so you take somebody who was really successful, driven, spiritually led, all of these things, and then you combine that with a near fatal car accident that strips all of your ability away, your ability to work, your ability to provide for your future family or your future wife. And you're looking at, what does that mean for me mentally, spiritually, financially, physically? I saw that man rise up and literally lead our whole empire, right? And so when I, was growing up, a lot of sons or children have their fathers go to work, or traditionally, right, and their mothers are the ones taking care of the home. My roles were reversed for that. And so my mother, who is a fantastic lady, child psychologist, ran her own successful practice, all of these things. Hold on a second here. Hey. My brother's running around. They're just doing whatever they want. That's why I'm trying to run the house too. But anyways, is my mother, she and my father were running her successful practitioner office in the psychology realm. My father had to stay home, take care of us, work from home, all of these things. And I would always ask him, like, do you miss work? How are you feeling? And he said, it's the worst feeling ever, right? I want to be able to provide for my family. I want to be able to go out and conquer for the tribe and have my, masculinity intact for this aspect. And I see a lot of men throughout my, adulthood struggle with that reality for a host of factors. But I saw my father internalize that and then really have a spiritual led mission to conquer this house and conquer those demons and conquer that family. And so when I talk about it really takes a village, it starts with the people leading that village. And I was just really blessed to have my father in that way, who was just so phenomenal in all of his aspects. That's where I didn't have to worry about peer pressure, because I've already seen what that's like at a very large stage, societal stage, where a man is supposed to provide. And so that's where that comes. And then if you have anything to say about that, I'll jump into the social media stuff too.
Oh, yeah. You know what? We don't give enough kudos to our fathers, especially now with these tremendous amount of negative images being pushed every day. I mean, the average child, by the time they're 21, has seen 5 million commercials, be it internet, radio, television, and print, that is purposely designed to derail you as the black man.
Yep.
And that's a sad thing about it, because a lot of times people misperceive my message and they think that I have some type of dislike or hate for anybody that doesn't look black. And it's completely the opposite. Mm-hmm. We love everybody. And to tap into the lone wolf, I always give them this analogy. I said, do you think that the wolf is ever concerned about a German Shepherd, a Doberman Pinscher, or Rottweiler? Nope. And they like, what do you mean? I said, well, guess what? The wolf is bridled, has not been domesticated, and is the master of his environment, which is the wild. And your domesticated dog, no matter how bad he is, could never compete on his level. So I, like the lone wolf, I'm not concerned about anybody that doesn't look like me, because I'm comfortable in my skin, and I'm going to project who I am as a positive image as a black man. And I know all these crazy commercials are purposely designed to derail the young black mind, to make them think that they can only be entertainers and athletes, when, like your parents, they could be doctors, pastors, businessmen, because that's 98% of what our society looks like. And you're only looking at a speck of a bad narrative.
Absolutely. And that's why I literally always wanted to embody all of the ideals and virtues that my father taught, because I would see a lot of other people and a lot of older black men behave in a certain way, or a host of different ways. And I would see that my father would even stick out amongst those different aspects. He had a whole closet, which is now my closet because I took over the house now, but he had a whole closet and a wardrobe full of suits, right? He was always suited. He was always wearing something nice. He was always dapper, never sagging, never, all these different things. And so when you look at that, a lot of people, and actually it's a funny story too. When I first started playing basketball, I grew up in a wider community here in the suburbs, where my family, moved here or built their foundation. And so I was playing basketball around here, and my father said, that's cool for now, but when you hit a certain age, I'm gonna take you down to the hood to show you how you really play basketball. And so I'm 13, 14, this is middle school, early high school-ish. And he takes me all the way down to Hughes High School, right? So I'm down there in Hughes, I'm playing Hughes guys, Taft guys, these are the local, schools around the city of Cincinnati. And so I'm getting called all kinds of names. I'm seeing all types of stuff. It's literally the wild, wild west to me, because I've never been in that environment. But I've been able to differentiate myself and understand both aspects of the coin, because what I don't like is when a lot of successful black men rise up in either business, power, money, or other aspects of success is they start to question where they came from or where their other people are, or how do we actually build our communities without even going into the communities that you're trying to build up. And so seeing that in the dichotomy of where our people are is another one of those really valuable lessons that I would not have had without my father. So that's why I owe everything to him, just because of the way that he raised me and the way that he, really brought us up. All three of his sons, me, I'm the oldest, Isaiah, the protector of the family. He's our boxer. He's our, warrior. He's the middle child, and then our baby brother, Big Mike. He's the reason why we're overseas in the Philippines, and I'll get to that later. But touching on your earlier points of peer pressure, social media, all of those things, Instagram, Snapchat, Vine, Kick, all of that was really, really popular when I was coming up through middle school and high school. And I would see literally how people change their internal views of themselves, their societal perceptions of other people based off of likes, dislikes, what was posted, what's not posted, who's interacting with what. And I just didn't understand, because that was not the real world to me, right? And now even older is that there's a lot more psychological things that were being done to me at a young age through these social media companies. But I just was always able to see a little bit above the matrix, not saying that I was super far from it, because I still got caught up in it growing up, trying to post some pictures to get some likes, right? Trying to holler at some girls in some DMs, right? I've been through all of that, and I was really successful at it too. But I know what that's like, right? So I understand what that world is. But it got to a point where I just said, this is really not real, right? There's no genuine human connection here. There's no actual business relationship here. And it would start to affect, cheerleaders, people on the basketball team that I was close with. It led to a lot of just bullying and stuff like that. So I was just like, I'm just not going to participate. And that allowed me to maneuver into a new venue, because the people I hang around with now are 10, 20, 30 years older than me. That's actually my friend group. And so understanding that at a young age allowed me to propel amongst, the masses that were really sucked into that sphere of influence.
So a little devil's advocate. So I'm one of your homeboys, everything, but man, Benjamin, man, you approved, dude. You get with the times, dog. I mean, what's up? So what do you say to them? Because I know what you say, but these young people that will watch this, what they need to know is that I can hear them right now say, well, but you came from a 2-family household. I didn't have that advantage. And if my dad wasn't around or my mom was around, I had to get advice from whoever was in the hood that gave me advice. And you and I both know that's a cop-out, because guess what? My mother was divorced 3 times. And we went through a phase, me and my sister, where we were being parented by my mom and my grandparents. So I said, guess what? I don't want to hear it. But I would like to hear your perspective, which is in your book that you talk about very so much, in depth. But I can hear them right now, Benjamin. Hey, man, I was raised by my grandmother. I was raised by my mom's. My dad wasn't around. Oh, man, dude, you're approved today and all this and that and the other. And why would I be hanging around all these old OGs? Man, talk to that for a quick second, because I don't want to hear about these excuses, because you can debunk them.
A lot of times is that people will either say that because they say that they are a product of their environment and they choose to stick in that model, believe that model, and it has some merit based off of your age, socioeconomic, economic factors that are surrounding you. But I always choose to believe that no matter what stage you're in, you have to have a forward-thinking approach. You have to have a hyperactive, intentional model to get either out of where you're at or to get somewhere that you're trying to get to, regardless of where you're at. Right. So even my father, right, if we revisit him for a second, my grandparents had him while they were in college. Right. So they're struggling. They're shifting him around houses, trying to find babysitters. He's sleeping nights at this house, not knowing what's going on, seeing his parents every once in a while because they got to work, they got to hustle, and they got to get it. And he literally was like, this can't be the way that I want to have for my children. Right. So regardless of what situation I'm in now, you have to think of, oh, you're being approved. Oh, you're doing this. It's like, if that's the mentality, then that's where you're going to stay. And that's where you're going to be stuck at. Because if you don't always have to do things for you, right? I'm doing things for Benjamin Phillips IV 15, 20 years from now that will yield dividends because of what I'm doing now, right? And I'm not saying that you can't, live. You can't enjoy what's going on. You can't, because if we had a separate conversation about all the stuff I did in college, this would have to be a different episode on a different topic. Right? So I'm not saying that you have to have this straight and narrow path, because life is literally not going to act like that, even if you wanted to, right? But you have to be able to, whatever path you're going, even if it's rocky, you have to be ascending, right? You have to be on an upwards path. And I'm not saying that you can't have setbacks. Because even me, I've had setbacks. Failing classes, right? Problems with girls, problems with my family, problems with my own, health and all these different things. But I'm just saying that no matter what, you just get up, you got to keep moving forward. So whether you were raised by your grandma or you were raised, in another place, and you're surrounding yourself with, I'm not really feeling the vibe of these people, but these are the best people I got, then you have to start looking at how can I positively impact my own individual self-worth, because regardless of who's around me, I'm going to have to get better. Right. The first thing I would say is you need to go find a different group of friends. Right. In the book, I talk about you're the, culmination of the 5 to 7 people you hang around the most.
Right.
When we doing crack and getting people pregnant, then that's generally what's going to happen. You're going to be around those circles where that's going to tend to be what you see all the time. Right. Whether we're talking, alcohol, drugs, pornography, all of that, just like you're putting vegetables and high protein smoothies and all this stuff in your bodies, you have to start putting more things in your mind to feed that engine, because if you don't have a healthy mind, everything else shuts down, right? And so that's why I talk a lot in the book.
Man, you know what? That chimes into in chapter 3, the Tabula Rasa, and you tell them what the definition is, but I think that's perfect, because if you came from a negative environment, but if you embrace the Tabula Rasa, you can actually have a whole new life. Talk to them and tell them what that means and why that's important. That the excuse is that you can change your narrative if you choose to.
Oh, absolutely. The tabula rasa is literally a term that I found when I was scouring different biblical texts, different academia texts, all these things, and it literally means blank slate, right? It's about you're taking yourself, regardless of where you came from, who you think you are, or what you're trying to not become, is you have that ability to become a blank slate and then literally pivot or accelerate whatever situation you're in, right? So when I got to college, even though I came from a successful high school career, grade point average, all honors, I was looking at, MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I was looking at doing law at Georgetown. I decided to go to Miami University for the Farmer School of Business, fantastic program. When I got to college, I knew that I had to elevate. Right, I knew that I had to be better, regardless of my accolades or what I thought accolades were in high school, because college was a different game. So for me, it wasn't only so much of I need to rebrand myself because I'm feeling some type of way. It was, I'm actually in the fire now, so let me figure out a way to elevate and get up out of here with the credentials and the tools that I came in here to get. Right. So, but if you're looking at it from a flip side of, I really want to change myself, don't really know how to do it, you just literally need to sit down, reflect, unplug everything. That's TikTok, that's Instagram, that's phone calls, that's everything that you're trying to do, and actually meditate, right? 5, 10, 15 minutes here, an hour here. People undervalue their own brain capacity because they don't train it. They don't improve it. Everybody hears that the brain is a muscle, but how are you actually exercising that? And sometimes it's actually leaving some of the other distractions out and focusing on, if I'm Benjamin Phillips right now and I want to get somewhere else, let me just have a tabula rasa moment. I can reset myself, recoup, recalibrate, and then let's go all years ahead.
Man, it's funny you said that. One of my biggest heroes is John C. Maxwell, 21 indisputable qualities of a leader. And he says that the most important thing you need to do every week is have a chair and sit in it for an hour and just think.
Yep.
Quiet everything and have a pen and pad and just let yourself settle in and know and find out what you are and what you need to become. And then let that information pop out, jot it down, and just do that every week. He says the hardest thing to do, because this is the most important muscle and the most unused muscle that we have. And again, if I'm constantly in an attention deficit disorder because they purposely are trying to program me, I will lose my ability to be a critical thinker.
Yep, and I want to jump in here real quick too.
Yeah, absolutely.
My mother, Dr. Sharon Phillips, actually, because there's a flip side of that too, is that sometimes you're so hardwired, and if there's other hustlers, go-getters, whether you're doing whatever you're doing, your brain's always on. You're always trying to find the next thing, trying to get the next bag, trying to understand where the next deal is coming in, trying to write the next, all of that is you also need to have a decompress moment too. So it works both ways. And so I'm one of the guys that's just really high strung, really high wire all the time. And you can literally burn yourself out and overwork yourself. And I've been able to see that through my mother because she's walking through a lot of different mental exercises, a lot of, I like to call it way of Sharon, because that's Dr. Sharon Phillips. I mean, she used to walk me through a whole bunch of things. Think about all the stuff on your plate now and think about what it would be like if you had some of that stuff removed. Or if you gave your leftovers to somebody else, let them hold that for a second. Or you just said, let me eat all my food now, don't put anything else for a little bit, and then just kind of let your stomach sit. But you're doing all of that mentally. And so you need to also look at, you don't need to jump to the extreme. Because I'm a person who likes to play with the ultimatums, but I also understand how volatile they can be. And so sometimes you also need to make sure that you're watching out for those things as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest strengths of an entrepreneur is that they are constantly pushing the envelope. And you have to understand that the pushing of the envelope is where the magic is, but it's a dangerous, element that a lot of people don't know how to utilize. And the great thing is that you're almost 2 generations removed from me, that I'm an OG entrepreneur, that being an entrepreneur was not cool in the 90s as a black man. Because to them, that was a euphemism for you can't find a job. But now everybody is an entrepreneur, and that's the coolest thing since sliced bread. You know what I'm saying? So kudos to Dr. Sharon that she walked you through those processes. So what I like to better do is let's segue a little bit into how you came about meeting Dr. J.C. Baker, and how did that change your life from the foundation you were built upon? Because here's why I don't think, Benjamin, that a lot of kids don't understand is that you build the foundation so you can elevate to the next phase of your life. But if you don't have that foundation, meeting a Dr. John C. Baker is irrelevant.
And actually, I'm gonna take my coat off here for a second.
So we in honor you. I knew you were gonna come dressed up, so I normally don't wear these nice looking shirts.
No, absolutely. I just want to make sure that the hospital logo here is
absolutely clean. Talk to us about Dr. J.C. Baker and the crew you guys got. I mean, amazing.
Man, that's a story. So actually, I was a freshman. I was a freshman in college, right? So I'm trying to understand my lay of the land, trying to come into myself as a man. I'm trying to see, who I'm trying to holler at for the night. Where can I get a burger to eat tonight? Like, I mean, you going through college. I mean, you going through it. Like, I understand.
I was getting the ramen noodles and the Domino's pizza.
You got to keep a couple people on deck just in case you got to get a pizza somewhere. I mean, I understand the struggle. Food is worth more than money in college. You heard it here first. That's a fact.
Fact.
And so when I'm looking around, I'm thinking, okay, this is, and I'll get into this later. I already had my internship set, right? So I had conquered what I wanted to conquer when I first came into college, when I was told that that wasn't the route for me, but I did that anyway. And so I'm looking around saying, okay, I got the internship. My grades are kind of where that I want them to be, not really.
Hey Benjamin, can I stop? Hey man, don't overpass the power of the internship. Talk about, because dude, that was revolutionary. Because when you told me about that, and I was like, oh my God, I know people that come out of college with degrees and masters can't do you. So let's not. Let's touch on that and then talk about, because I thought you had the internship after you met Dr. J.C. Baker, but you got it before. So talk about that and let the people know the power of a plan and belief in yourself.
Absolutely. So when I was getting courted from the different colleges coming out of high school, Miami University, had one of these luncheon events, right? So I was able to meet some of the faculty and some of the students that were there. And I'll never forget, there is a wonderful friend of mine. Her name is Lakoswa. She works for Microsoft. She's all over LinkedIn. Shout out to her bold journey. And then there was another gentleman there named Kyle Broadnax, who currently works at EY, and he's doing a phenomenal thing with all of his nonprofit work as well. But I saw these two Black students, and to me, Miami was not a Black school at all. I mean, it was a PWI, like the ultimate white school. And so I was like, if you're not, somebody's daddy's grandson, you're not going to that school, right? But they were there and they were present, and that visibility helped me. So I'm saying this to say that I was used to being the only Black person in the room, right? When I got to college, it was amplified, right? And so it literally was, I kind of had some friends in Fairfield, and, we were kind of mixed in here at my high school, fantastic program. But when I got to college, it was, there's 200 people in this class, and everybody's name is Brian. Like that's what's going on. So literally, I'm just by myself in here. And so I said, all right, whatever. It's going to make me stand out. So the way that I was approaching those problems was I'm not going to run from them. I'm not going to hide from them. You're going to see me sit at the very first chair in a 200-person lecture hall so that professor can see me. I'm going to raise my hand X amount of times in the class. You're going to see me at office hours. You're going to see me. I'm just going to beat the world into submission with my work ethic and how I show up. And I was wearing suits to class, and people were just laughing at me, looking at me like I was crazy. But my father said, every good man needs to have a good suit, right? And if you're going to a business school, you might as well just start dressing up for what you're trying to be, right? When you go to med school, they make you wear the smock all the time. You're trying to become a lawyer, you have certain tools that you are in that field. Even if you're being a firefighter or a policeman, you have uniforms that you wear, right? In this new age, we think that old adage is done for you, just wear whatever, right? But when I was in school, and mind you, I'm a freshman, so I'm fresh out of high school, 18 years old. My first class, I'm three-piece suit, right? So
I know they were trying to clown you, man.
and then people are like, what's going on? Is he the FBI? Or they don't know what's going on here. And so I walk into my first class, and it's rowdy and everything. And when I walk in, people are like, they open their laptops, they take their books out because they think I'm the professor. So I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna work. So I'm like, no, I'm the professor, whatever. But I still am sitting in front row, so they think I'm some grad student or student teacher, whatever. But that professor, if you didn't know I was black before, now you're gonna know I'm black and I'm suited, right? So now you're gonna see it double times. And what happens is that became my mantra before the local thing kind of encapsulated, right? So professors and faculty would talk to the recruiters that would come to campus. So you have your Ernst Youngs, your KPMGs, your, all the different consulting groups and accounting firms. They're wondering, who's who in the business school? How do you make yourself stand out? I wasn't someone that had a 4.0 GPA or knew a lot of connections or even had previous internships. The only job experience I had coming into college was a janitor at a hospital, right? So that was literally the only thing I had. So I knew I had to go and get it. Getting that internship was the culmination of every single day doing the little things that amount. I printed out business cards as a freshman, and I would keep them on my person in my suits. People didn't know what was going on, right? Wow. The very first day or second day, they thought it was cute. They thought it was, he's trying to make his mark and all this stuff. By the third or fourth week, they were clowning me. You think you're all this, all this braggadocio. And I'm like, I'm not doing it for you guys, right? I got a future family to feed. I got, parents I want to retire. So I need to go and get this thing now so I can go ahead and make sure that all of this works. And so it was really funny because at the career fair, every college has their big career fair, right? And so it's usually for seniors and juniors.
Right. Seniors and juniors.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a sophomore, they're like, maybe we'll talk to you next year. If you're a freshman, they're looking past you.
What are you doing here is what they're thinking.
Why are you here, right? So I'm fully suited, right? I kind of had a smaller beard than I have now, so I don't look like a freshman, right? So I'm still walking in there super nervous. People always like, I have ultimate confidence. I was nervous. I was scared. And I'm walking up to these multi-billion-dollar corporations, with their representatives. And unbeknownst to me, the faculty, some of the upperclassmen had already started whispering my name into recruiters' ear. So they already knew what to expect because of the work that I did. So while everybody was clowning me, the professors were like, hey, look at him.
Right, the real people.
Yeah, and so that's when I understood that regardless of whether it's social media, chit chat talk, water cooler talk, everybody else's opinion is regardless, is how do I get from point A to point B and who are the people I need to actually talk to or influence to get there. And so that's how I got that internship. I had to go through, 3 different interview rounds. I was me and Kyle Brodnax, and Kyle was a previous intern, which is how I got connected with him. He was my big brother type. We were the only black men the only black people period in a room of like 80 applicants, right? So we already stood out, but it was, people know this from this club, people are kind of shaking elbows over here. I had nothing. I just had myself and the Lord and my family, and I was just kind of in there. But I was able to hold myself in such a high caliber way because of how I was raised or the skills that I learned through the various community orgs I had joined on campus. And that's really what solidified that. So getting that internship as a freshman, when all of the upperclassmen were telling me, you shouldn't be at career fair, you shouldn't be doing that, like take your resume, go back to your dorm, little freshman. When I get that internship, the very next semester, I'm doing the, qualifications of of seniors that are trying to come up, right? Because that's part of it. Is if you're an intern, you get to represent them on the side of the
I
career,
love it.
on the career stage. And so there were some people too that were clowning me and laughing at me. I said, let me see your resume, right? So they were like, are you working here? I was like, yeah, I'm an intern. And they were like, but you're 18, I'm 21. I'm like, well, let me see your resume. And so, but I was still, kind of walking that path because of how I carried myself, and I didn't let anybody deter me from that route.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. I mean, first thing is you projected your image for the future and start becoming that person right then and there. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if anybody understands that the wealthy people, the billionaires, they always stand out and do the complete opposite of everybody else. They eliminate that herd mentality.
Yep.
So that's the second thing that stands out. And the third thing is never step on anybody as you're going up the ladder, because you never know what happens on the way down. And what I mean by that is that those juniors and seniors who may have tried to clown you, they basically came back and needed you. And if you even had any inkling that you didn't like the way they treated you, they could have burned a bridge with you.
Right.
And then the fourth thing that unpacks here is what Dr. Randall Pinkett said to us when I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago. He said, it's not who you know, Benjamin, but it's who knows you. And guess what? You've made a great first impression with the professors, with the people ahead of you in the know, that they start speaking positive about you and say, you got to know this guy. And that's what I was telling my sons, that, hey, you know what? You got to know Benjamin, and you got to be hopeful and humbled that he would even have time to spend with you. So from there, now tap us into the connect with Dr. J.C. Baker, because, man, that is phenomenal, brother.
Absolutely.
I applaud your mom and I applaud your dad for giving you that foundation of what excellence really looks like. And that's average in your house, brother.
Absolutely. And I think another point to that is that with all the peer pressure, I mean, growing up in a house full of boys, you're going to get clowned, right? So I have been clowned for 18 years, from my brothers. Your hairline's going back, you got pimples on your face, you can't get with this girl. I mean, so I had seen and heard it all from those two, which only made me stronger and made us closer as well. But that was another point of it, which is why our communication is so strong as a family. But now that I had the internship, right? So I get the internship, and actually before I met Dr. Baker, at my student org on campus, is everybody kind of recapped how their career fair went, right? So you have some juniors and seniors that landed some jobs, everybody clapped and they were excited because they were on their way out, moving up, right? You had some sophomores that were getting some internships, and they were really ecstatic because that's a really big step, and rightfully so. A lot of the freshmen just had some interest. They had made some connections and told to come back in a year, and all these things. I said that I had gotten an internship with Ernst Young, EY, and half the room clapped, and half the room was like either upset or they just couldn't understand it, right? So another thing that I talk about in my book is, if you're going to surround yourself with people in your core group, make sure you see physically who claps for you when you succeed and who either hits you with a side eye or is trying to usurp you in any type of way, because you need to either keep that circle small and get all that negativity out, right? Because one thing that was always really good for me in college was my college roommate, Jalen Warren. He's another black kid from the inner city of Cleveland, played basketball. He was on a pre-med track, right? So he was getting it in his own lane with all of the, pre-meds and OChems and all of that whole world that I don't understand. But even he was different in his lane because there was only a few people that looked like him in those classrooms. So having us together, right, going through that storm was really, really beneficial when I could see who was really happy for me when I succeeded and who was just kind of faking it, right? And so when I had that realization, a few of the people that were in my inner circle, Kenny Glenn, who's actually one of the practitioners at the business hospital, he got his master's in accounting, and he's actually training for the Olympics right now, long jumping for the country of Honduras. So he has a whole nother, thing that he's going through. But he had heard that there was some sort of leadership talk or seminar or conference or something with a local community organization here called Black Achievers. And so I said, okay, I'll go because I'm trying to, I'm feeling myself a little bit. I got an internship. Let me not stop here. I don't want to just kind of quell and, keep my foot off the gas. Let me keep going. So I get to this, hotel, and there's a meet and greet, and all the people there are 30, 40 years old. And, I'm the youngest person in there, and I'm not really kind of sure what's going on. And then the leadership keynote speech was by Dr. Baker, right? And he was talking all things about generational wealth, Black economic equality and equity, right? What he's doing with, at the time, was JC Baker and Associates. And I just said, this is everything I'm trying to do. So I was suited. I had my business cards. I said, why not? I went up and said, whatever you're doing, I want to be a part of it. I don't care what that looks like. I don't care what you pay me. I don't care anything about that. I just want to learn from your feet to see what that world looks like, because you're in spaces that I'm not, but I want you to be my mentor. I straight up was like, you're going to be my mentor. And so he looks at me up and down. I try to come as clean as I can and professional as I can. He just said, come to my office the next day. And so I get to his office, and I'm meeting, NFL players. I'm meeting, chamber, people. I'm meeting mayors. I mean, he's having a whole bunch of different high-level meetings that, as an 18-year-old, then I had no idea what was going on. So I'm just writing notes. I mean, I'm in the back just kind of soaking everything up. That's where everything kind of started for Dr. Baker and me for our relationship. And as he grew, I also grew because I was there just learning, right? So when it came time for me to actually hit the gas and said, I want to do something, right? I had already had weeks and weeks and months of preparation to say, I think I have a skill set that you can leverage. And it's leading other people, it's business development, it's getting deals done, right? Give me a chance to prove myself. And that's how I actually started doing all of these international level deals, because I took a very humble approach to getting into that world.
Oh man, what a perfect segue. So shout out to Kenny, man. I know he's going to do well and make the Olympics. One of my best friends is a gentleman named Courtney Hawkins, who was a gold medalist back in the mid 90s and the number one indoor 110 meter hurdler. Actually, he's just at my house today. Matter of fact, shout out to Doc Baker too, man. So man, I'm getting excited, man. I'm actually getting goosebumps right now from your story, because there's a lot of nuggets in what you talked about. One, you were bold. And again, it goes back to that foundation. And I'm going to keep harping on this because there's so many negative narratives and people think we're a monolith, but we're not. But the reality is, going back to mom and dad, and then the aspect that when dad got hurt, he had the humility to take the role to take care of the kids while mom went out and got the bread. And there was no dishonor in that, because we're a family. You know what I'm saying? But we'll get, clowned in this world, and we'll be taught, oh, that's effeminate. No, what's effeminate is that you weren't there and let somebody else raise your kids.
Yep.
Point blank. That's facts. But getting back to your business acumen, you became comfortable. Did you know that you were becoming comfortable being around the big boys? Because that's one of the things I share with my sons and my daughters is I say, Dad is putting you in this environment right now. So these people are no big deal to you when you're ready to play that game. Right. Did you realize that was happening to you, Benjamin?
That's a fantastic question. Not at first. At first, I had no idea. I was just stepping into rings of fire and just letting myself get burned to say I'm young enough to feel what failure is like and have it not affect me in such a tenacious way. Right. So I, was shell shocked at meeting some of these people. I, was nervous meeting some of these people. I didn't hold myself, all the way to where they actually knew who I was. And so there were some times where I was like, I could do better here, or I need to work on my relational aspects here. And I was 18, so they knew what to expect, right? Here's this young intern type college guy. He's just kind of getting his feet wet. But now, right, I can talk to heads of state, right? I can talk to multi-international corporation CEOs or CFOs or controllers or ambassadors, right? And I have these conversations regularly because of all of that humility I spent with Dr. Baker. So when we go to a room now, and we try to remain as humble as we can, but the business hospital mantra prohibits us from not shouting out to the world who we are as the only business hospital in the world. But we walk into the room now saying, before we leave this room, everybody should know who we are, right? That's a very different and drastic approach than just going in and saying you want to meet as many people as you can. It's a soul should not leave this room without knowing who Dr. Baker is and Benjamin Phillips III is. And that's how we've been able to carry this empire going. And that was not something that was overnight. I mean, that's years of just kind of going through, meeting people, following up, understanding what, sales is like, kind of coming into your own as a businessman. I was just blessed to have to go through that transitionary process, 18, 19, 20. So now at 21, I know what real business looks like, and I don't have to wait 10 years to be an executive or something like that. I know what time it is when I walk into a room.
Oh man, three things that come from what you just said. Number one, we created this acronym called HIM, and it stands for humility, integrity, man. And you embody that. Your dad embodies that. Dr. Baker embodies that. Ken embodies that, and that's something that we need to do more of. So we got that. Number two, created another acronym called STEAM, which is science, technology, entrepreneurship, access, and mentorship, which everything you just said epitomizes that. Okay. And then the third thing is the power of the Steph Curry effect. And Steph Curry, people don't realize why he's so great is because at 2 years and 3 years of age, his dad, Dale Curry, had him out on the professional NBA circuit, shooting ball around the big ballers. And not only did he get the mindset it's okay to be around them, but he saw the work ethic.
Yeah.
He saw the professionalism of what it took to be on that platform. And then it was no big deal because you know what they say, children do what we do, not what we say.
Yeah.
So talk to us about how you guys created that business and how you went on to become the president of the international department and knock down multi-million-dollar deals. And if you would, Benjamin, tell us again, how old are you right now today, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 21 years old. I'll be turning 22 actually in about a month from now. So that's
Man, say that again. How old are you, bro?
I'm 21 years old.
Oh, I love it, man. I'm glad you just 21 with our commercial, man. Oh, Nick, you didn't know that, did you, Nick? Nick, this brother has knocked down more international business than I have ever come close to at 21 years of age. Man,
I didn't see that coming.
Off to you, brother.
Oh yeah, mine too, man. Yeah, I did not expect that. I did not see that coming.
So I'm in these rooms, right, and I'm with Dr. Baker, and literally seeing the birth of an industry, right. So what we do here at JC Baker and Associates, the business hospital, just the business hospital, is we literally are the only business hospital in the world, and we are the primary care physician for people's businesses, right? So if you, anything from I'm starting a clothing line to, I have this new technology or I need CBD products built, I mean, it could be anything in any different industry or problem. We're industry agnostic and class agnostic because we are used to seeing all types of businesses, right? So there's 20 or so of us practitioners all around the world, and we're kind of like an Avenger team. We each have our own skill set that we bring to the table, and we're almost like those assassins that you never hear about, right? People don't really know about us because large corporations and countries don't want their problems to be known to the world, right? They bring in an elite group like the business hospital to come in, solve problems, assess where things are, help their organization or processes or systems get healthier, and then we're out, right? And so what happened was as we started to shift from JC Baker and Associates, dabbling in consulting, dabbling in tech, dabbling in some other areas, to actually rebranding as the business hospital, the world started to open up because people just did not understand what a business doctor was, right? And when Dr. Baker got his doctorate and was actually leveraging the capacity and the ability of the business hospital, people could not dispute what we were saying, right? Because we're literally creating an industry from physical hospitals and electronic hospitals, from tech platforms that have Business Hospital Plus, which is coming soon, from our own sort of business insurance that we're still working on that we're calling business care. A lot of these things have never been done before. And so we're crafting it and creating it in a way that's going to shock and revolutionize the world because we already have proof of concept and confirmation from, the government of Thailand, right? Other organizations within the Philippines, South America, Africa, Australia. Everybody's wondering, what is this business hospital and how do you guys operate? And that's the beauty of what Dr. Baker has built. And I've just been blessed to be attached to a part of it.
Oh man, that is amazing. Hey man, tell us about your first $1 million deal that you nurtured and brought across the finish line. How did it come about? And how did it feel when you accomplished that? Because again, you have done millions of dollars of deals at the young age of 21. And this is the reason why we call it the Financial Expert Series, ladies and gentlemen. So if you don't like what you hear right now, your wood is wet and wet wood sinks. But if you like what you hear right now, you need to subscribe, share, and tell everybody about this amazing guy, Benjamin Phillips III. So again, Benjamin, tell us how you nurtured that first deal, because you talked about it in the book and you talked about it to us one-on-one several times. And how did it feel when you got across the finish line? Because a lot of people today, what I hate about, they project, oh man, I just made $1 million and only been doing this 30 days. Or I'm making $50,000 a month and it just happened last night. I bought this little booklet and all of a sudden I made this, and they never tell the real story. And they never tell about the setbacks that they had. So talk to us about that, brother.
Absolutely. And so I hate that point so much, because growing up, you know, in your 18, 19, you're just trying to figure out what business is. And YouTube is just saturated with business coaches, e-commerce coaches, $1 million mentors, all of that, you know, BS. It's hard to differentiate that noise, which is why Dr. Baker became such a lamp in the fog, right? So actually, one of my first major deals came from, it was actually Instagram. And this is going to walk back a lot of what was said before, but I was in the Philippines setting up our business hospital in the Philippines, and I literally was like, I need to find some other people that were in the venture capital space, the angel, you know, investor space, the high net worth individual space, because I'm trying to leverage our global hospital here to get to other regions within Southeastern Asia, right? So, you know, I'm looking at trying to get to China, trying to get to Japan, trying to get to Myanmar. And so I just asked, you know, who's who in you know, kind of this space. I would like some direction, like to be pointed in a way. One of my previous patients, who actually did not hire us, but he was interested, he just wasn't able to hire us at that point. He said, well, my uncle is, you know, the, you know, large president of this, you know, venture capital thing in Thailand. I'm like, what? And so he's like, yeah, you know, here's his email, tell him I sent you. And at the time, we were looking at trying to finish out our development for one of our internal projects called Pro Elite Training, which is how we've revolutionized the way to train athletes using the metronome of music to increase rhythm, tempo, and pace. We have NBA people in there, NFL people in there. That's actually dropping in the next 60 days on App Store, iTunes, all of that. That'll be coming later. But we met this gentleman who was leading one of the largest funds in Thailand, right? He was responsible for a lot of the growth and success of TikTok, and he was very intricately connected all throughout Southeast Asia. And so when I first brought him on to see if he wanted to partner or look at investing in our technology, only to find out, he said, scrap that. I want to know what the business hospital is. Who are you guys and how do you operate? This feels like a 30, 40, 50-year thing that's been in the making. Well, that's what we want people to think. That's correct. And so from there, he said, I need to get you guys connected to everything I'm connected to in Thailand, because what you have is so phenomenal that the SMEs, small, medium enterprise businesses over here, do not understand basic business concepts or building blocks. Can the business hospital assist? We said, yeah. And so we're currently in long negotiations with getting a lot of our proprietary technology, Business Hospital Plus, integrated into the actual bank and government of Bangkok, Thailand. And when I was able to do that at 21, while I was in the Philippines playing basketball, that's when everything, you know, it just kind of clicked and said, I'm in the right line of work. I know how to leverage my skill set, my resources, and this is not fake. Like, that's not something I can just kind of post out or say, like, that's real business being done and being cultivated. And that's not something that's just, you know, you can find on a YouTube snippet or another, you know, something like that.
My goodness, man. Oh, dude. Number one, you developed the skill. You got nothing to do with the age. So they stopped looking at your age because your skill was so magnified that they were honored to be in your presence to broker a deal with you. That's number one that jumps off the page for me big time. Number two, at a young age, you already going across the pond, and your boldness and your youth has no fear. So you don't even know to be afraid of what you should be afraid of.
Yeah, that's very true. Sometimes ignorance can be a blessing.
Right. So number 3 in your book, you talk about just doing it. So talk to me about what you talk about in your book, the 3 C's of selling, and talk to me about when you talk about knowing your money, because a lot of young people get caught up, even when they do make money. Like I said, I had $40,000 worth of consumable debt by the time I was like 23. And I just didn't, and I had an accounting background, but I didn't know personal finances like you broke it down in the book. So talk to us a little bit about that, my friend.
Absolutely. So in the book, and a lot of those lessons are very first lessons I learned from Dr. Baker. And so understanding that, I'm taking classes in accounting. I'm failing accounting class. I'm trying to figure out these other lessons, in college, and I'm just trying to come into my own. And Dr. Baker really was like, let's sit down and let's actually go over some of these things, because you just don't understand in this space. And that's usually a conversation that, doesn't happen until you're older and you actually hit that wall. And my father had already prepped me for just the basic foundations of business and money. He had run a very successful real estate business. He had done some other things with a lot of his, tax planning, advisory services, a whole host of things that Pastor Phillips is a part of. But the Dr. Baker taught me that there's only 3 ways that people can legitimately participate using any type of money. It's either through cash in all forms that exist, credit in whatever form that exists, and collateral. If it's not one of those 3 C's, then what are we talking about, right? And so a lot of times we look at the car example, or the car analogy is, lease or buy that has to be either cash or credit, or they'll ask you to trade in something as collateral to help that. Or if you're looking at another large purchase, collateral will be used as leverage for the bank. That way that can hold on to that. And these are things that you guys know all too well. But as an 18, 19, 20-year-old, those things were all foreign to me, right? So understanding that was the blueprint. And then there was just about how do I refine my tools in every single category to then not only teach it to other people, but then just become steadfast for my own financial empire to understand those things, right? So when I'm looking at how does money actually exist, that goes to your earlier point of all of this YouTube, get rich quick stuff that I was just seeing flooding YouTube and Instagram at that time, right? Forex, e-commerce, drop shipping done incorrectly, a whole bunch of other things that people just, they say a lot of terminology and words to get you really fired up, and then you have to pay some program to get into it, only to find out that that's not really what real business is. So that's where a lot of my mentorship and stewardship came from, was under those teachings of not only Pastor Phillips, but then Dr. Baker as well. And that really helped, because I was able to differentiate what was real and what wasn't at a time and place, not only for my age, but the age of society with all of the tech that was going around on what's real and what's not. Because everybody says they're a founder, CEO, owner, right? And it's nothing. If you actually looked at where did you file your LLC, what's the LLC? What's your EIN number? They have no idea what's going on here. So these are the questions that I can easily ask that people are just like, I have no idea.
Oh, I got one for you. What's your buy-sell agreement and your key man policy?
I mean, people are like, exactly.
I like the way you talk about how mentorship expedites success. And I know we going on. And I want you to come back again, because I appreciate your time, and I got to get and celebrate with your little mentee for his 14th birthday. So talk about the importance of how mentorship expedited your success, and then tell that young girl and guy, teenager or college student or young adult that's watching this, what's the blueprint and the pathway when we know first thing is they got to get your book.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. If they didn't get anything else from that, they don't get your book. And tell us about, at the end, what are a couple of the deals that you've actually done in some of your clients, so they can really comprehend that you're playing big business. Because when I met you guys and I saw your clientele, I was like, oh my God, I'll be fortunate just to get in the room with you guys. So talk to us about that, and we'll wrap it up, and we won't take any more of your time, but we definitely like to have you come back.
Mentorship is such an important key, right? Everybody has mentors, right? Bill Gates had mentors, and Warren Buffett had mentors, and his people. Everybody has to either find that person that is either in that space and they can teach them the ropes, regardless of business, sports, cinematography. I mean, it's the old thing where people need that sensei, right? My brother is studying Japanese right now. His major is literally East Asian studies, and he calls his teacher sensei, and they're hooked up on a whole bunch of things to get him over to Japan to complete his study abroad, but he had to find that mentor, right? My youngest brother, Michael Phillips, right? He's the prodigal basketball son of the family, right? 6'9", he's crazy. Check all his highlights out, Michael Phillips. But his mentor was Mo Spates, right? Former NBA champion for the Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so he's
played for the Golden State Warriors.
Absolutely. And
yeah,
so he played on his AAU team down in Florida. And so he got to see what it was really like to play basketball at the pro level and even at the overseas level, because, Coach Mo came back from China, but he was able to see that. Mentorship, regardless of whatever you're trying to do, has to be a fundamental way to accelerate. I'm not saying that you need to have one, but if you want your train to be lethargic, don't get a mentor, right? If you actually want, it's no different than going to a new place and you have a map versus a tour guide, right? And so that's really the point that we like to use in a lot of our patients, is that if you're trying to build a business, yes, you can look up all types of YouTube videos. Yes, you can look up all types of things online or governmental programs, but when you're actually in it, execution is the hardest thing. And that's what literally is one of the reasons that businesses fail. There's 137,000 businesses that are created every single day globally, and 42% fail within the first 6 months due to two reasons. Under financial capitalization, so they don't understand how to use their money, which is why they need DJ the Money Coach. And two, human capital analysis. They don't have the right people doing the right things in the right places, right? And so even as you're coming out of high school, college, middle school, your first job, you need to find someone that has gone to where you've been to, so you can lean off of them and understand what that's like.
Oh man, that's a mouthful. So tell these young bucks and these young gals again. Tell them some of your top tier clients that we all know, name recognizable. I don't like to do that, but it's important because in your generation, they need to see the bling before they believe it's real. That's
absolutely, and that's why a lot of our work is done in the shadows, because when you get to different levels, you'll see who the real people are, because they're the only people in the room. But for our Pro Elite technology, one of the main components is the music itself, and so we've been able to cut deals a lot with Shady Records, which is Eminem's group, Rock Nation, Jay-Z's group. We're talking Moccasin Creek, which people may not know, but they do 100% of the music for the WWE, right? I've been in rooms where, Dr. Baker is just off the phone with Lil Wayne. He's trying to call Shaq, right? He was trying to call Kobe before he passed for one of our speaking engagements. I just said, these aren't fake things. Like this is real stuff. And so when I'm looking at that, I'm like, we're actually doing work with the NBA and the NFL, right? We're actually doing work with large restaurant franchises, Brothers Burger in the Philippines. We're actually doing work with Avalon, which is one of our large conglomerates in South America, in Brazil right now. And we're looking at how do we leverage all of that to actually get to a point where we can stand for something that the business hospital needs, right? So a lot of these large tier things you can see on our site, but you might not understand what it means. Right, but just know that you don't have to be 30, 40, 50 to get into these rooms, or you don't have to be, in these golf clubs or these, programs to get in these rooms. Just be really, really good at what you do, make yourself valuable. And the key thing that has to be taken back, and this will be my last point actually, because this is something we got to stand on. Leverage is the name of any game that you're playing, right? You have to be able to present yourself in a way that it's not just he's a good kid, or he's someone that's attractive enough to do some stuff. Business is going to be a two-way street. What can I get out of you, right? What can you give back to me? So for Dr. Baker, it wasn't just here's an internship or here's a role or here's a partnership where I'm teaching you everything. It was, now you have to go out and generate some activity for the business. You have to actually go out and do some things to build our brand and to network internationally so we can be in these rooms. And that's why it's a very synergized relationship, because it's not give and take, it's give. It's reciprocal of everything that's happening. And so if you're coming out of high school, coming out of college, yes, you need to make yourself known, you need to make yourself intangible to whatever you're doing, but you also need to make yourself valued enough to where people can actually say, I need that because it's going to get me this. Because at the end of the day, business is extremely cutthroat. It is a dog eat dog world, regardless of what you're doing. So be a lone wolf, watch your own back, and just get things done.
Oh, I mean, man, that's drop the mic. So, tell these people again. You, if I'm not mistaken, you are the CEO of the international business arm of the business doctors, right?
Yeah. So I'm the executive director of global affairs for JCBA Associates, the business hospital. So whether we're talking South America, whether we're talking, Southeast Asia, whether we're talking about Europe, whether we're talking about Africa, whether we're talking about Australia, I'm in that space, and my Rolodex has multiple SIM cards because I need to be able to speak in different languages or be able to speak in different time zones because I'm international. That's what I do every single day.
Hey, man. man, I tell you, in all seriousness, I mean, this is what every kid should aspire to do. At the end of the day, it starts with the foundation, and don't make no excuses. If you come from a negative situation, embrace, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Tabula Rasa. Get a clean slate, get a plan. Second thing is be bold and go find yourself a mentor. And like you said to Dr. Baker, hey, I don't know what it is you're doing, but you're in the leadership, and I'm going to be right there. And then the third thing you said is, and I just was telling my son Rodney this with his internship. I said, hey, man, it's a dog eat dog world. They're impressed with your intelligence and the foundation you get, but you got to bring something to the table, brother.
Yep.
And you got to super exceed because you're young. So that they don't look bad to say why you gave this young guy a chance. Yeah, he's highly gifted, but he's inexperienced and shouldn't be here. And you just said you went out internationally and started bringing business to the enterprise and made yourself irreplaceable. So where can we get in touch with you to get your book? How do we connect with you to enterprise business with you guys? And, what we always do on our show, Nick chimes in and gives a summation of what he's gleaned from this because he thought you was a lot older.
Oh, that's funny. That's usually what people think.
Oh man, I'll fire it up. I'll fire it up. So yeah, so share with us, Benjamin, where we can get in contact with you, how we can buy your book on your platforms.
Absolutely. So I have a couple websites. The number one website is www.jcbaker.org. You can find my book along with all of Dr. Baker's books. He actually just finished his other book. He's pumping out books left and right. My other personal website is www.lonewolfmentality.org. A lot of my, trials and tribulations and all things, whether it's Miami University, how to excel in college, all the way from my transition to the Philippines, and you'll get to see a little bit of my family. All of that is on that site. I'm really easy to reach, Benjamin at jcbaker.org. You can find me anywhere, LinkedIn, Instagram, all that stuff. So connect. Any questions? If you're a business owner, you're looking to start a business of any type at any level, or you have a current existing business and you don't know what to do, or you're trying to increase revenue in any way, come to the business hospital. Our assessments are free. Our diagnoses are free. Come get your business to be healthier.
Oh yeah, and I can attest. We've put some people in front of you guys, and actually we worked on a deal with you guys with a Corey Blunt, on doing some web design stuff, and we did something in the PPP segment as well with you guys. Y'all organization is par excellence in the industry that you created, which I'm happy for, because people don't understand how great of creators we are. And since you guys know that we're not creating this industry and let somebody come and appropriate it and sell it back to us, I'm proud about that too, because I'm all about equity and ownership in our own ecosystem. So Nick, with that said, what'd you get from this grasshopper? Because you thought he was older.
Yeah, I definitely did. When you said under 25, I thought, okay, maybe he's 24. You said 21. I'm like, what? He accomplished all of this by age 21, but that's really a testament to the lone wolf mentality, and the lone wolf mentality is something that I actually got exposed to myself towards the end of last year. And another synonym for the lone wolf mentality is the Sigma male personality also, and that's how I got introduced to it. So everyone's familiar with, the alpha male type and the beta male type. Sigma male is most closely related to the alpha male, but there's a few differences. The similarities, they're both leaders, they're both self-sufficient, they're both confident, they're both dominant. The difference is that the lone wolf or the Sigma male, he operates outside of the societal norms and the societal hierarchy. So I heard that in your story. Even though you were, you still lived life, you still had your setbacks, you were still in the mix of everything. You still, at the same time, you were your own man. You were your own best company. You didn't follow what everyone else was doing. You didn't follow the crowd. Also, the lone wolf doesn't feel the need to compete against the alpha male and the beta males. He's his own competition. The Sigma male competes against himself. He's striving to be his best self each and every day, to constantly elevate. The Sigma male may be a little bit more introverted into himself than the alpha male, but he can still rise to the occasion and step into that leadership position when he's called to duty. So I think by following, there he goes. I'm going to wrap up my point. And so the even younger grasshopper can jump in there and talk to his mentor. So yeah, by living that lifestyle and those traits, you're able to achieve, a lot like what Benjamin Phillips III has achieved. So that's why I'm super excited about this interview. This might be one of my favorites, and I'm excited about reading the book. So thank you again, Benjamin, for telling your story, dropping that fire, all those jewels. But I'm going to toss it back over to DJ and Crusher over there.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Crusher sit down here for 30 seconds and give you your flowers because you deserve them. So come over here, man. Tell them what Mr. Benjamin Phillips means to you.
Well, Mr. Phillips was a great mentor, and his book was actually phenomenal. I learned a lot of things, like the mentality of a wolf. Not having to have people surround you when you can do things on your own. You need to focus on yourself and have that, that go-getter attitude. You don't need to have anybody tell you, you need to go do this. You should be able to do it on your own. Be the leader and take charge of what you do. Mr. Benjamin Phillips taught me a lot of those things. Had a lot of great conversation with him. He was a great mentor, and really love him. Really recommend his book. It's a really good book. I really appreciate it. It helped me a lot.
Happy birthday, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. You have a good day, sir.
Yeah, happy birthday, Crusher.
Thank you, Mr. Westbrex.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow. For the people watching, I guess my new last point is I didn't really think that we were going to connect, right? And so when DJ the Money Coach said you need to actually talk to my son, I just said okay, I'll talk to him once or twice and kind of just see what's going on. But I was blown away by what he was doing at his age, and just as I'm sure that you guys are feeling the same with some of the things I'm doing at my age, is I felt that same with your son. And just the ability of seeing the youth progress in a way that's substantive to the places that we're trying to get to. I was in the Philippines trying to move my schedule around because we're 12 hours ahead of the US. I was trying to meet with him, had to cancel, reschedule. He was extremely professional and all of these things, and we had not one meeting wasted. He was always teaching me about what he learned in the book. I would put some more building blocks on top of that. And just knowing that there's actual kids out there that are starting this curriculum of life early is just a testament to what you guys are doing at your organization. So fantastic job all the way around.
We thank you. And again, man, we really appreciate that you took that time to do that for him. And we're grateful. So, hey, we got to have you come back. I know you're about to get back to bounce across the pond since the pandemic is open. And it's important that we share this information to our youth. Because it's accessible. And we're about to speak to an organization called BET Talks in Philly on Saturday. and would love to connect you with Richard Washington. It's a young youth group, ages I think 8 to like 18 in Philadelphia, that's been around for 27 years, and they just give back to the community, bring in mentors and speakers that show them what pathways that they can go towards from the inner city, man. So I'd love to connect you with that as well. And again, if we can give your information one more time, Benjamin, then we're going to be out of here, man, and we're going to be blessed to connect back up with you guys. And we're so grateful that we found synergies with Doc Baker and you and Kenny and the group. And man, it's a wonderful day in America to be a strong Black man and have that lone wolf mentality.
Well, thank you so much, you two, for having me on. It was my honor to really be a part of this. Thanks so much to Brandon Hutchison for connecting all the dots together as you do so well. Your flowers are on the way. Again, my contact information, anything you need business-wise, go to the website, www.jcbaker.org. My personal website, www.lonewolfmentality.org. And my email is benjamin@jcbaker.org. Benjamin Phillips on LinkedIn, Instagram, all of that stuff. If you know how to find me, you can find me and I'll be there. Thank you so much for you and stay blessed.
We end it the same way every day. I'm DJ the Money Coach on behalf of our moderator, Nick Westbrooks, and our esteemed guest, Mr. Benjamin Phillips III, and the preeminent example of excellence at a young age of running an international multi-million-dollar business. So I would encourage you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel and spread the gospel. And with that said, we want to wish you a pom-pom lifestyle. That's plenty of money and peace of mind. And come join us on the beaches of the World Club. And your beach don't have to be an ocean, but it's wherever you find your freedom and your peace of mind. I'm DJ the Money Coach. Thank you again, and we'll see you soon.